Welcome back to the National Hurricane Center. This is Ken Graham in our operations area here in Miami, Florida. The time right now is 1:17 Central Time. Let's get you the latest information on Tropical Storm Nicholas. The information we have now, 60-mile-per-hour winds, so that's still holding pretty steady to what we've had. Moving north at 12 miles per hour. So that's the current movement. And if you look at the satellite here, we can actually see some of these wind barbs. That's the hurricane hunters out there really helping us out, try to find where that center is and try to help us find the expanse of those winds as well. So real heroes out there, really get the information that we need to help pass it along to you all. The latest information we have now is 70 miles south-southeast of Port Aransas, Texas. Let's start looking at some of the data and look at some of the impacts that we're going to have. Well, we talked about it before, just this large area of cloud cover. So underneath there is what we're really trying to see where the winds are, what's reaching the surface, where the center is. And the best way to do that is actually try to look at the actual radar itself, looking at the Brownsville radar, Corpus and Corpus Christi, and also the Houston radars, trying to find that center. Well, it's not easy. There's been multiple centers in there all day. There's been jumps of the center. So the big thing to take away here is just a large area of circulation, and look at this massive rain, just a large area of rain, tropical rainfall, and that's why we've been talking about this dangerous setup associated with the flooding and the rainfall associated with Nicholas. You can see some of those really strong rain bands went through Houston over the last hour and continue to move northward. So that's going to be the big story, really not completely focusing on the actual wind speed and the actual track. This is a large area of moisture, just a dangerous, life-threatening flooding situation setting up. We do have the latest forecast. This is the advisory at 1 o'clock that we just issued. You can see where the storm is here. Not easy to detect exactly where it is, but Stacy back here is doing a great job looking at velocity data. He's looking at the radar. He's looking at the aircraft data. He's just looking at everything he can to find out exactly where we can track this system. But the overall thinking is the same. Continuing to move north and eventually getting very close to the coastline of Texas this evening, overnight tonight, and then with time tomorrow morning, that's Tuesday morning, inland, Tuesday 7 p.m., Wednesday morning, and then moving Wednesday through Thursday up through the upper Texas coast into Louisiana with time. So as we saw on the radar, the heavy rain, so you do have that large area of rain, but you also have that rain band, that tail end, we'll have to watch with time. And you have to watch that with time because over this week, wherever that sets up, not just the center, but wherever that tail sets up, you can get some really heavy rainfall, and that's what we're going to have to watch out for, not just around that center, but well away from that center. Something else we definitely want to look at, I do want to show you the winds. Can't discount that if we get into the rain, but you're still going to have some really gusty winds, tropical storm force winds, anything in orange and red and this whole area in here, you can see a higher probability of getting some of those tropical storm force winds. That arrives this evening, tonight, into portions of the middle Texas coast and even towards Houston with time overnight tonight, early Tuesday morning. You can see some of those tropical storm force winds. So, you can start seeing some issues associated with putting those winds on saturated soil. So something to watch out for as we go through the process with some of these impacts. That right there is a lot of rain. That's one of the bigger impacts that we're going to see from this. You're going to see some of the wind, but I mean, I look at this and the orange area here, that's 6 to 10 inches of rain. That's from coastal Louisiana, southwest Louisiana, central portions of Louisiana, back towards even towards Corpus Christi. That's a huge area, 6 to 10 inches of rain. We do think some areas 6 to 10, 16 inches of rain, not out of the question. Some areas could see 20 inches of rain. So wherever you start seeing that repetitive rain, especially in those rain bands, those totals are going to start adding up really quick. So be ready for that. In the coastal areas, listen to those local officials and be ready to seek higher ground if you need to. So just a large area of rainfall, Louisiana back through Texas. Corpus Christi includes Houston, Beaumont, areas of Lake Charles, any one of these areas, even Baton Rouge, pretty close to some of these higher rainfall totals. So watch out. The I-10 corridor going to be pretty treacherous with some of this rainfall over the next few days. So one thing to look at, the Weather Prediction Center doing such a great job looking at areas that we could see some of that, the higher probability of flash flooding. So you do have that high risk. This is in areas, I was trying to look at some of these locations from Galveston, Freeport, Matagorda, any one of these areas in that high risk. But look at this huge area. I mean, Phil, not too often we see such a large area of moderate risk of flash flooding from Corpus Christi, Houston, Galveston, Lake Charles, back over to New Orleans, Baton Rouge. Any one of these areas could see significant amount of rainfall, and just got to be careful where that sets up to see some of that flash flooding. The last hazard I wanted to cover is we have a storm surge warning for areas here. We do have the latest one. I don't think it's changed. The storm surge warning from Port Aransas, Texas, Sabine Pass. That includes Galveston Bay, Aransas Bay, San Antonio Bay, and Matagorda Bay. So some of these areas could see some significant storm surge. I do want to show you some of these values. This is inundation. Not every location gets this, but it's one of these things that if you're in one of those spots where the water piles up, you get at a high tide, the potential storm surge you can get from San Luis Pass back to Port O'Connor, 3 to 5 feet, Galveston Bay, 2 to 4 feet. And look, as far away as Rutherford Beach in Louisiana back to San Luis Pass, 2 to 4 feet of storm surge. So dangerous situation setting up. If you're in one of these areas and the local officials tell you not to be there, definitely listen to them. And turn around, don't drown. It's a dangerous situation with the flooding and the rainfall, and together we can stay safe during this storm. So this is the latest information we have from Miami, Florida, right here at the National Hurricane Center.